All right. We hope this session is interactive and want it to be community focused. Cameras on can aid that, but of course, if you want to be cameras off, that is totally fine as well. As we get started, we'd love it if you could introduce yourselves in the chat and note what kind of organization you're with, if a nonprofit, foundation, association, or other, and what your role is. If you're a fundraiser, a donor manager, or a membership manager, please throw that in the chat. That'll help provide some context for us as we move through the slides and through the presentation and webinar today. We're going to start off today with some welcomes and introductions. We're going to jump right into the steps of the financial journey. We're going to do some interactive mini workshops where we're going to be mapping some financial workflows, and then we'll come back and do a report out, and then we'll open it up for question and answers and next steps. Again, we're really excited about this webinar to kick it off. We want this to be interactive. So as we go through the slides and activities, please use the Zoom question feature in the Zoom strip at the bottom of your screen. All right, we're going to start with a little bit about Fíonta. We are a Summit Salesforce partner, and we've been working with nonprofits and associations for 24 years, the majority of which are with repeat multi-year strategic engagements with our clients. We've been a Salesforce partner since 2005, focusing on delivering excellence and supporting mission-driven organizations. And we are a certified great place to work, and many of our consultants worked for nonprofits, foundations, and associations before joining Fíonta. And our average tenure is actually 5.8 years, which means that many of our clients have worked with the same people for almost 6 years. So that's just something that I'd like to share about our organization. Another thing that sets us apart within the Salesforce ecosystem is our focus on human-centered design. It is one of our key differentiators that sets us apart from others in the space. And we put the human at the center of our projects, focusing on persona development and definition, and all the features and functionality that we deliver during our engagements are aligned to that. We do extensive usability and accessibility testing, especially when we are focusing on external users, ensuring that folks who are logging in to a portal or on your website to buy a membership, make a payment, or donate, that process is easy and accessible, and that there aren't any barriers put in front of that process. A little bit about me. I've been working in the Salesforce space for about a decade and a half, and I have 13 Salesforce certifications. I work to keep up to date on the newest technologies that provide value for our clients. That's the Salesforce ecosystem and adjacent tools and products. I moved from Washington, D.C. to a tiny town in upstate New York during COVID. I've got 2 hounds and a 2.5-year-old son that keep me busy. And in my free time, you can find me working in my beehives and studying to become a master beekeeper with the goal of learning as much as I can about bees and sharing that knowledge with my community.
Toby, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Findoc payments on Salesforce. Findoc has been a trusted partner for many organizations worldwide for over a decade. We're the #1 donor payment management solution on Salesforce, and each year we process over 100 million transactions, managing over $3 billion in revenue, and demonstrating our commitment to reliable, efficient, and secure payment solutions. Our excellence is recognized in the Salesforce ecosystem with a 4.98 out of 5 star rating on the App Exchange and multiple Salesforce awards, highlighting our dedication to customer satisfaction and product excellence. With Findoc, you can initiate, accept, and reconcile payments natively from within Salesforce, allowing you to report on all parts of the donor or member experience directly from Salesforce, and all of your donation, donor, member data can be connected to any financial tools that you also have connected to Salesforce. We center payments within your Salesforce environment so that the payment data can be accessed, reported on, actioned upon in real time across your organization. For marketing and fundraising and development, this means that you are able to personalize campaigns and follow-ups with real-time payment data, improving your donor and member insights. And for IT, it means simplifying your integrations, improving employee satisfaction, reducing the number of tools that your staff needs to use and to learn. You have something that you can seamlessly maintain and support going forward without incurring further technical debt. For finance and operations, this means improving your operational efficiencies, like being able to spend much less time on manual reconciliation. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am experienced in nonprofit and association advising. I have nearly a decade of fundraising and marketing experience personally at nonprofits, including being thrust into the role of accidental CRM admin. And I also found myself accidentally responsible for accounts receivable process improvement after an audit and going through the recommendations of that. I am a Salesforce AI associate certified. I am mom to a teenager and a preschooler and one tortoiseshell cat, which is the weirdest of all cats. If you know, you know. I am currently learning DIY renovation. I'm about to rip out a whole lot of carpets. If you've done similar, please let's connect offline. I would love to hear your insight. I'm also joined today by FinDoc SE Ashley Hampson, who, like most everyone at FinDoc, has nonprofit experience herself. And she is also a fully qualified Salesforce admin and has experience and Salesforce certifications as well. And I'll start off today by asking you to just give some feedback by either raising your hand physically, or you can hit that emoji button, the raised hand emoji. If you raise your hand if you have to log into more than one system to get all of your revenue data. Raise your hand if your team is spending more than a few hours a week on revenue reconciliation or cleaning up data or deduplicating. Raise your hand if your process involves either copying or uploading or downloading files. Raise your hand if things fall through the cracks, like failed payment follow-ups or phone calls to major donors. Raise your hand if your finance team, marketing team, maybe your executive director has to chase down or wait for reports. Raise your hand if you have everything integrated into one system, but the integration required you to change the way you do things, change your processes, your rules, or if the integration creates duplicates that you have to clean up later, or it's buried in so much custom code that you can't make any changes. Or raise your hand if maybe the folks that knew how it all worked either don't work there anymore, or for whatever reason, you can't really get into the system. In the journey from donation to impact, there are lots of ways things can go wrong, from just mildly irritating things to actually losing revenue or losing donors. Several months ago, one of the largest educational associations in the US were in a mild panic. The current and prospective members were on their website trying to sign up or to renew their memberships, but they couldn't complete the transaction. The system was actually broken. They were losing revenue and they were losing trust. To make matters worse, there were no current employees that could decipher the very customized system that they were using, and they were at a complete standstill. Growth was not even on the table for them because they were putting out fires every single day just to maintain the status quo. And that's a little bit of an extreme example, but this outcome, unfortunately, is a common thread, even when systems are working just fine. Long-term growth goals require scalability. So another example, there was an organization in the UK that was a conservation organization. They have over 5 million members. They had the same outcome, but their system was chugging along just fine. Members were signing up, no problem. Payments went through, but there was no way they were going to achieve their large growth goals with disjointed systems, manual reconciliation, and without the ability to see the whole donor and member experience. So those are two very different situations. One floundering with a system so customized it was not maintainable, constantly putting out fires just to maintain current membership. The other functioning just fine, but manual work, repetitive tasks, duplicated efforts, and more prevented them from getting where they needed to go. And those efforts would not be sustainable once they did get there. So whichever point you're at right now with your organization, we believe that the solution is to streamline, automate, and connect as much as possible so that your staff can minimize things like low-value repetitive tasks and maximize the high-value strategic relationship building efforts that will really grow your organization. All fundraising and membership organizations are really trying to do the same thing: build long-term relationships and keep people engaged over time. But there's one part of the journey that often gets overlooked: payments. Operation and donor and member experiences are two sides really of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. And the impact of this is something I personally experienced when I was a fundraiser. When payments are not working well, when renewals are manual, when failed payments fall through the cracks, or when finance and membership systems are not talking to each other, the whole member experience starts to break down. And issues arise like internal inefficiencies, manual processes, low retention rates, failed payments, and a general lack of clarity around visibility and what's actually going on with your members and your payments. These challenges are not just back office operations problems, they also affect the entire member experience, leading to dissatisfaction, which leads to churn at renewal time. But what we did for the two organizations I spoke of is we brought payments into their core systems. We integrated payments directly into Salesforce, and everything started to change. They have visibility, they are automating and personalizing, taking full advantage of the very robust system that Salesforce is. And most importantly, they're treating payments as part of the donor and member journey. Here are some of the membership scenarios that we help them improve, from first sign up to switching membership type, increasing their membership level. Because FinDoc allows you to manage payments from within Salesforce, you could trigger journeys when payments are made, which 90% of our customers do. You can update membership statuses automatically when a payment happens. You can retry or notify someone on your team if something fails, if a payment fails. And we've seen customers reduce failures by 60% or more just doing this. And you can offer modern mobile-first methods like Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, and it's all connected to the member record. No separate systems, no manual checks required, better member experiences, and increasing signups, increasing retention. Now, let's flip that coin, because member happiness also depends on happy teams and how well your internal operations run. So this is where things can get messy behind the scenes. This is where my personal struggle was really focused. So manual reconciliation is prone to human error. Teams that are chasing down failed payments or that don't have time to chase down failed payments, siloed views between finance, marketing, support, development, membership, duplication of effort, duplication of data, and growing admin as you scale. FinDoc gives your team automated processes for mandate management, recurring payment processing, payment method changes. We automate the entire gift aid process if you operate at all in the UK. There are intelligent retries that we're setting up for the organizations, as well as giving your members the option to pay via alternate payment methods. There's real-time tracking across payment methods and gateways. And with our customers, they're reporting improvements in data quality and in donor insights. Having a single source of data for all your membership, donor, donation, and payment data all within Salesforce lowers errors, reduces delays, and is less stress for your team overall. So it's not just about delivering a great front-end experience for members, it's about freeing up your team to focus on value, not repetitive tasks, saving revenue, increasing your impact. And we also think that having a great partner like Fíonta can help you determine at what point you might need to do something that is fully custom development versus using a tool that's purpose-built, especially for something as important as payments. And that's key to growth as well. I'll hand it back over to Jordan.
Thanks, Toby. Our clients are sophisticated and donor and member focused, and as such, want to make it as easy as possible for stakeholders to purchase memberships, pay dues, and donate. As such, they allow for multiple payment methods like credit cards, Apple and Google Pay, ACH, and checks. Managing different payment methods can cause delays in reconciliation because financial data can live in different systems and formats. We consistently strive to put Salesforce at the center. During our discovery and design process, we work with our clients to map out financial workflows from point of entry with a focus on the user experience of making a payment or donation, but also with a focus on reporting and audit compliance. The data that comes into the system needs to be in a format that is reportable and consistent. Here's an example system landscape. Salesforce Customer 360 is a fancy word for the Salesforce platform that provides a suite of tools to manage fundraising, sales, and membership, as well as the associated data models to store the information about those functions in a standardized, reportable way. Being able to plug Findoc's payment management capabilities into the platform allow our clients to quickly and easily manage capturing payments from within the system. This reduces, and in many cases eliminates, the need for swivel chairing between systems, increasing efficiency and allowing staff to spend more time focused on more strategic parts of their day-to-day jobs. This is especially important in today's funding climate where organizations across the board are forced to do more with less. In the second part of this diagram here, you can see the integration layer, which leverages tools like MuleSoft or Skyvia to push and pull data directly to your financial management system. Many of our customers take a crawl, walk, run approach, and will start by having us generate a report that can be ingested into their FMS prior to going all in on an integration. This allows for finance and accounting to have eyes on the data prior to it being ingested into the FMS. I'll show you an example report that we have created for a client for this very purpose on a later slide. Nonprofit cloud is the new standard for Salesforce for nonprofits. It is what's called an industry cloud and basically extends the Salesforce platform with objects and functionality specifically geared towards supporting nonprofit operations. In this data model, the nonprofit cloud for fundraising data model focuses on dollars. This model allows nonprofits and associations and foundations to designate specific dollars to funds with their organizations. What isn't shown here is a feature that ships with Nonprofit Cloud that creates what are called transaction journals that model the debits and credits that will be ingested by the financial management system. A nice thing about Nonprofit Cloud is that since it's built on Salesforce Core, it uses the same objects across the platform. Meaning, if, for example, you are using Revenue Cloud to track accounts receivable, it is going to create the same transaction journal record that is going to be created by Nonprofit Cloud, meaning reporting is streamlined and consistent across the platform. And another thing to note here is that Findoc itself integrates directly with the Nonprofit Cloud data model, so there's no customization needed in order for the objects and records to be created when payments are received via Findoc. Many nonprofits struggle to tell their stories to donors, their boards, and the wider community, and have complex reporting requirements for their institutional funders. Fíonta has expertise in not only Salesforce native Salesforce reports and dashboards, but also CRM analytics and Tableau. Both are additional tools that Salesforce offers that allow more robust reporting and analytics. By leveraging the Salesforce platform, native reports and dashboards, as well as advanced analytic capabilities like Tableau and CRMA, our clients can continue to focus on driving revenue and impact while ensuring they can report on the financial health of their organization and tell their impact stories. As mentioned in a prior slide, we have direct experience supporting nonprofits in association with robust analytics around financial reporting, supporting sales and fundraising and finance and accounting during the bank rec process. This example showcases a CRMA or CRM analytics dashboard that we created for a client that wanted to manually generate a file to be consumed by their financial management system, NetSuite. We use CRMA to build out the filters based on the requirements, and this process allows them to manually validate the data prior to it being ingested into their financial management system. Excuse me. The last thing I want to touch on is how, as a Salesforce users, you can take advantage of other pieces of Nonprofit Cloud to manage programs and track service delivery. This, of course, could be its own webinar, but I want to call out two other pieces of Nonprofit Cloud: Nonprofit Cloud for Program Management and Nonprofit Cloud for Outcome Management. Not only are you able to tell your financial story, but you can use these two parts of NPC to track programs and tie activities to indicators and outcomes that align with your organization's theory of change. If you're interested in learning more about these two areas, please don't hesitate to reach out. Toby? You're on mute.
Thanks, Jordan. In a minute, we're going to split up into breakout rooms so that each of you can begin the process of streamlining your own process and revenue management. We will be in the breakout rooms for just about 10 minutes. So this is definitely something that will be continued after today's webinar, but the goal of today is to get started, get some initial feedback, and begin the process. Before we go into breakout rooms, I'd like to share an example taken from my own experience. Jordan, if you would just advance the slide to the map, thanks. This is an example taken from my own experience mapping out this process as a result of an audit that we had. Your own process may or may not fit into this particular map, which is totally fine. Use it or go rogue. This is just meant to get your wheels turning. Your breakout room moderators will have the step-by-step instructions for you, but think about the ways that revenue comes in, the channels, the campaigns, and what people can sign up as members, what people can donate, what are the membership levels, what causes members to churn or lapse, what payment methods are they using versus what payment methods you would like to offer them or what methods they are requesting. You'll spend some time mapping out your current processes, identifying challenges, receiving some feedback and tips from your peers, and then you'll choose a representative to report back with the larger group. Enjoy, and we'll see you back here in about 10 minutes.
Was helpful. We had a couple questions that came in our breakout room that I wanted to make sure that everyone had a chance to hear because I think the answers will be good. We've got someone saying that they don't work directly with their org's financial workflows and definitely interested in hearing what others struggle with and how they plan to work through these issues. So Toby, maybe you could kick us off by talking about common issues that you see when clients or prospects are talking to FinDoc.
Yeah, sure. So something that we see every day that I was mentioning in the small group was, maybe by the time they came to talk to me, they had been using a tool for a while and it was causing some issues. And so they were exploring some changes. And so something I hear a lot is we had to take our established revenue processes and change the way that we operate to fit the requirements of the tool. Something that's just very common that I hear is we had to turn off our duplication rules. So creating then a lot of duplicates, and they might, another thing I hear is that we had campaigns separated out by the time they got to arrive at our website and, hit donate or sign up for a membership, but the tool that we're using kind of crunched everything back together to get it into Salesforce, and now we have to separate it out again. So something that's really common is manual work, manual cleanup of data. And that all takes time and becomes a bottleneck. From personal experience, my bottlenecks were anything involving a phone call, whether it was for a failed payment, calling someone and saying, thank you so much for being a member, but your payment didn't go through this month. Your credit card seems to have expired. Would you like to change your payment method? That was a huge bottleneck for me. Definitely caused us to not get from that step to the next step. Thank you phone calls for larger gifts or certain levels of membership signups. That was a bottleneck. Any manual phone call, that was a huge bottleneck for me. And then the data entry, of course, would just pile up and pile up and pile up. So anything that involves manual data entry, deduplicating, that was a huge, huge time commitment for us.
That question came up actually several times. Duplicate payments. Would love to know how to view the duplicate payments for a member and the close of the second payment. Is it possible to do to report on this?
Yeah, so I was touching base with Lorraine a bit in the breakout room on that. So they actually are current FinDoc users, so we were just kind of talking troubleshooting a little bit there. And the value though, I think what it really highlights is, and Lorraine, please feel free to jump in too, is having this data in Salesforce. She'll get we're going to talk offline so I can kind of track down what's going on. But we've got a lot of troubleshooting tools built into our tool, and everything is really traceable and trackable through the records. So we'll be able to kind of track the sources of how those payments are getting charged and identify where that source is. So we'll touch base offline, but also to Toby's point earlier of having that extra team on your side of FinDoc helping you work through the payments. And I appreciate Lorraine because she's been super complimentary of our customer support so far. So yeah, I think does really illuminate the value of having this integrated and natively within your Salesforce system, because we can work through that.
Well, that is a perfect lead into the next question. Or I suppose actually it's really frustration, probably a common frustration. One of our participants says, I feel difficulty in understanding the process flow because of multiple systems like SAP, Salesforce, Excel, and all disconnected systems. Jordan, do you think you could talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the perennial challenge, right? When you have multiple systems that are either integrated, partially not integrated, or fully integrated, it's really making sense of your source data and then being able to reconcile it. So where we have seen a lot of success is putting Salesforce at the center, as I mentioned in the webinar, where we're actually able to integrate these external systems or load these spreadsheets into CRM, have that be your source of truth for the constituent, the stakeholder, the member, and their associated activities, and then leveraging your financial management system to do your reconciliation and your AR and your deferred revenue. So I think from my perspective, the most effective way to do this is a crawl, walk, run approach, where we look at all of the various systems, spreadsheets, et cetera, that are currently in use, map those to your processes, and then work to map out how we can sort of integrate and sequence those integrations to provide that holistic view of all of your data in one centralized location, which would be Salesforce.
That's really helpful, Jordan. Thank you. And actually brings me to a follow-on question, which is, how do these tools integrate with NPSP, Nonprofit Success Pack, if an organization is still on that platform?
Yeah, great question. Definitely another common one. And FinDoc works with any product, any Salesforce product, and uses that data model. So going back to a common problem that comes up later, that where organizations are, in order to use a tool that they want to use, they have to abandon or change some part of their process. FinDoc does not require that. if you're using Salesforce, we follow the Salesforce data model, and there's also flexibility in that as well beyond the data model. And so you do not have to change your business processes. You can continue to do things that are working and keep that, and it's not going to create duplicates. You're not going to have to turn off your rules. In fact, you can use Salesforce rules, and during implementation, you'll set up the rules to be essentially whatever you would like for any part of the process. So NPSP, we were part of the design process for NPC. We were working with Salesforce while they were building that, and so we are NPC ready. But any of the core products, we work with any of the add-ons, Marketing Cloud, everything is connected. Once payment data, donor and member data exists within Salesforce, now it opens up, you're really able to fully use Salesforce with all of the very, very robust features that it offers and all of the connectors. We also get a question very often, can you connect to our financial system? So if you're using something like QuickBooks for the finance team and you've connected that to Salesforce, well, with FinDoc, all your payment data, your revenue data is coming in and it's in Salesforce. So if you're connecting some other financial tool, well, now it can take a look at the payment data and the donor data as well. And so it's connecting, more than just the 360 view of members and donors. It's really, all your teams can access that data now.
It's fantastic. I think we have one last question here, and I think this is a Jordan question, which is, when integrating with a financial management system, what is your preferred approach?
Yeah, Karen, great question. So I think it really depends on the sophistication of the organization that we're working with. I would say for the lion's share of organizations that we work with who are going through a digital transformation where they're moving from one system to another, a legacy system to Salesforce, or Salesforce to a new version of Salesforce, we have found that the crawl, walk, run approach really works well for financial management system integration, which really means that in the first phase of the project, we're going to be leveraging a flat file that is generated out of Salesforce. So it could be a standard Salesforce report that looks at the transaction journal object in Salesforce. It could be, to my earlier slide, where we're looking at a more kind of complicated report. It could be CRM analytics. But really that allows our business team, so the fundraising, membership, whatever team, to have a chance to validate the data prior to it being exported and put into the FMS. It also allows finance and accounting to look at the data, tease out any issues that may have happened. What that's also going to do is it's going to build trust in the new model, which is really important, because once it's in your financial management system, the audit is going to be happening primarily from those systems, and making sure that that data is clean and true and in the right format prior to taking the walk and then the run, which is really looking at direct integrations using tools like MuleSoft or Skyvia or Workato, right? There's a variety of different middleware tools that can then take the place of that manual export import. But generally, we have found that for these transformations where there's changes in how the objects are structured and the records are structured, that crawl approach out the gate, I think, increases adoption and buy-in, and just general trust in the system, which increases use and adds value. So that's kind of the approach we see working most of the time.
Oh, you got a flying heart, Jordan. There's agreement here. And frankly, I think crawl, walk, run is applicable to every segment of our life as we're learning something new or bringing something new into our work life or our personal life.